Hi guys, so it's me, Nicolette. In 2011, I was working at a company called Purdy M, and basically what we did is we did direct marketing. So we would take the brand to the people, right? Most of the time we used to be stationed in malls and we would sell things to people. And we were like those people that you would be walking in the mall and would say to you, "Oh, your shoes are on fire." And then you would look around, and that really was like our icebreaker. And I kid you not, we were taught these type of icebreakers so that people would stop and actually give us an opportunity to try and sell this thing. And you would be lucky enough if the person that you were speaking to had their account number, their ID book, and perhaps knew their address off by heart, because then you would be able to sign that person up. So in 2011, I was part of the team that was selling legal cover. It was called Legal Nexus. And if you sold 3 and you got 3 application forms, when you get back to the office, we'd convene in the morning and they would ring a bell for you and you'd get so excited. So you can understand the rapid speed in which we wanted to sign people up and just getting people convinced to take up this legal cover. I mean, it was 79 Rand a month at that time when I was selling it. So you got paid as per how many application forms or how many successful application forms you filled in. Now, when I talk about successful, it means that you would need to be able to get the person's account number, ID number, and address, but also their cell phone number. So that when they call this person can verify all those details and can say, yes, I did speak to a type of person like this. So obviously 150 Rand, if you maybe filled in 5 applications in a day, you would be making 750, right? My math is a bit lost. But here's the trick about it. People were very clever. So people would feel sorry for you and they would actually give you time to speak to you and they would listen and they would give you their ID numbers. Their ID numbers sometimes had 11 numbers. But because you were moving at such a speed, you never really noticed, because if, let's say, for instance, I'm filling in a form with someone and then I see another person kind of peeping in and like kind of interested in knowing what's happening, I want this person to finish filling the application form so that I can speak to my next person, right? So some people never really put in the correct details. Sometimes they'll not even write the right cell phone number. And they would get called now at the end of the month by this new client and they would say, yay, I've never met that type of person. I was not even in that mall on that day, right? And basically what that means is that you would not get paid for the application. But because we're human beings and we've got flaws, what we used to do is that we would calculate how many application forms we had filled in a month, and you kind of preempt what type of a salary you were going to get at the end of the month. And I mean, if you just imagine, if you could fill out 20 application forms in a month, you could do relatively okay. You know what I mean? Not great, but okay. Because as I said, I mean, it's 150 for 1, 2 is 300, 4 is 600. So you could do pretty okay. It's not a great salary, but you would do okay. So you could maybe preempt numbers like as 5,000 Rand. And we used to have, where we were working in Cresta, we're at corner Base, Nodia, right? And on the one side was the office building. On the other side, it used to be a Premi. And then if you crossed a little bit of the road, there used to be a news cafe. So it was like a nice little drinking spot, also socializing area. So at the end of the month, we would all convene there just to go through the month and say, yo, it's been tough. Get a young cocktail, nyana. It was the times of Long Island, where I got introduced to Long Island. And, but before, because you never really got a text of how much you got paid, you'd first need to go downstairs to the ATM and check how much you got paid. And always to my shock, it never was the amount that I had calculated. And because it was like, we were all like low skill type of workers, you know, we were given these opportunities without really having qualifications. We were always afraid of asking, how guys, I worked out that I could earn 5,000 Rand, and now my salary is like 1,370. Lord knows how they even got to that 70, because really we're working in denominations of 150 and it's a rounded off number. So when we would find like a brave soldier who would ask, they would say to us, no, it's clawbacks. The person that you guys sign up, you guys don't know how to sign up people. You're not writing the correct details. You're getting half ID numbers and cell phone numbers that have 9 numbers. So we would accept our fate and just move on with life, right? And I really worked that job for almost a year, guys. It was one of the most terrible jobs. So on the one day, we went to a mall. I think it was called Trade Route, somewhere in Lenasia. And next to us were guys from the bank, right? So they had like lanyards and water bottles. And obviously, you know, human beings, we're so funny because we want these free things. I'm attracted by the water bottle on the table. I'm attracted by the lanyard. Lord knows I've got so many branded water bottles in my house, but I still want this one. So we went to the table to ask, guys, so what is it that you guys are doing? They're like, no, we're signing people up for credit cards. And we're like, okay, but how do we get the bottle? Because the bottle is what has got me here. And they're like, no, just sign up for a credit card. And I said, but I don't need a credit card. I can't really afford a credit card. They're like, no, just sign up. You're going to get a limit. You don't really have to use a credit card. Just sign up and then cut it up later, right? So obviously because of the bottle and a lanyard, I signed up for this credit card. And I promised myself that I would never use this credit card. And lo and behold, not even a week later, guys, I was swiping that credit card like it was going out of business. Because you also know a credit card gives you this idea that you got money. Money that ain't yours. And then you also have this thing where they say, no, it's 55 days interest free. Let me tell you something. That's also a trap. And eventually, I used and maxed out this credit card within, I think, maybe 3 months of me using it. And now, because I had been introduced to the world of credit cards, I started understanding credit. Not really understanding, but that I've got access to credit. Because, you know, the thing about banks also is that they love young people. They love young people. They love to catch you young when they're selling you this credit. And they will make sure that you can actually qualify. So at some point in my life, I think fast forward to 2014, I found myself also sitting in a bank now applying for a personal loan. A personal loan. I moved from a personal loan to a revolving loan to a temporary loan to a payday loan. Guys, I had all of them, all right? And at some point, I was so over and deep in my debt. And the one question I hated with my entire heart and soul was when I'm speaking to a consultant and they look at me and they say, you're so young. How did you get into so much debt? Oh my goodness. And I want to sit there and think, yeah, I got in because of bottles and lanyards. That's how I got myself into credit. So I think we need to be very careful. Money is a very emotional thing. And the reason why I tell you the story is that when you are dealing with a family member, a friend who says to you, I am actually over in my debt, please don't ask them questions like, how did you get in so deep? You know, why did you do this? Did you not know interest rates? Because the reality of life is that even sometimes when we do know, we find ourselves in situations where we should not be. And granted, that sounds like an excuse to some people, but it's the reality of life. And I think we need to tread very carefully when we're dealing with people that have financial problems or dealing with financial issues. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it's not that you like the situation that you are in, but you keep becoming a repeat offender because you are actually not changing your behavior more than just the education part of it. How I really got out of debt, you know, one day I woke up and I said, I can't do this. I had an overdraft when I started working in 2014, 2012, in 2012, when I started working at a school called, I worked at a school and they were paying me 8,000 Rand. And I literally, from 2012, 2013, 2014, I lived in an overdraft. I lived on websites of micro lenders. I knew them all. I mean, my favorite, you guys know which was my favorite micro lender. And I literally was living off them giving me money every single month and having to repay it back using my overdraft to pay my micro loan at Wonga and then using a temporary loan to cover myself because now my overdraft had taken everything. It was quite a mess, you know what I mean? And what I realized at that point is that I was not in control of my money. And I decided one day when I woke up in 2015 and I had taken in 2015 and I had gotten a better salary I had moved many jobs and I got a better salary. And that day is the day I decided, you know what, I need to change my life. I need to look at my situation holistically and start making changes. And I literally went and sat with a consultant at the bank. And from most of the people that I've experienced at the bank, she was the nicest person in the world. And she said, Nicolette, we need to first clear you out of what you are in and deal with those issues. And she said, you need to tell me all your debts, even if they're not with us, this bank. Tell me all your debts so that I can help you work through it. And we used what we call the stacking method. And I literally wrote down all my debts and their interest rate that I was being charged. And that's how we went through it. But I think what it took, and I think what's the first step in dealing with your debt is being aware that you're already over indebted. If you look at your income ratio versus your debt ratio, and you realize that you've got more debt than what your income is, number one, you know that you're in the red. And if your debt is 40% of what your income is, you now know that you're actually not in a great space, and you need to start being realistic about where you are and start working through that debt. And if you are acquiring more debt than finishing off debt that you currently have, that also should be a red flag. So I sympathize with people that are in debt, and I really want to say that we're out here, we want to help you. And even if it means that we must start a series where we deal with debt and take it and be realistic, because some people just say, no, but you can finish your debts. No, you can, but let's be realistic about how we do it. And I think that for me is going to be the most important thing going into the next couple of months.